Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and joining us tonight to lead things off is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Jim Jordan. Oh, hold on, Jim Jordan. Let's get this right. There we go. Congressman Jordan, thanks for joining us, sir.
You bet. Good to be with you, Larry.
We learned this week that DOJ officials out of Delaware have met with Hunter Biden's attorneys. This is right when you're actually starting to follow the trail and get a lot of information, a lot of evidence in your committee. Are you worried that they're trying to preempt your investigation in the House by working out some sort of, plea bargain over some lesser tax issue?
Yeah, you never know. And look, the executive branch, they're the ones who who handle this, comes out of the Justice Department. So we'll see. What I do know are facts that Mr. Comer and the Oversight Committee, which I'm a part of, have uncovered. What is it now? 170 suspicious activity reports, thousands of pages, multiple LLCs receiving money from all kinds of foreign entities, foreign countries, that money now going to 12 different members of the Biden family. And of course, the fundamental question you got to keep asking all the time is, what did they do to get the money? What was the service they provided? What warranted the receipt of funds? What value did they add? What'd they do? And it doesn't appear to be anything. So that all is suspicious, as the name of these reports would indicate. So we'll just have to see. We'll see what they do with the Delaware U.S. attorney. We'll see what happens. If
they grant immunity to Hunter Biden for some of these other things in exchange for his testimony on a lesser, that really does preempt. That's the president giving Hunter Biden a pardon without actually having to take the political hit of giving him a pardon.
Well, and then if it gets, if you look at the broader picture, if it gets where, we know the DA in New York and Manhattan has indicted President Trump.
Yeah.
If they do what I'm afraid might happen, which is it happens in Georgia, and then if the special counsel Jack Smith indicts President Trump, and it looks like Hunter Biden gets what you just described, and there's no indictment of Joe Biden on the classified documents issue, that is a scary situation, because the country, I think, will say, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So that's the part that concerns me, just for our culture, for our country,
right.
For equal treatment under the law.
Yeah, this isn't a Republican-Democrat thing. It's about American people actually knowing that our judicial system treats people equally. That brings us to the revelation now, thanks to John Solomon's reporting, that the DOJ and Merrick Garland never revealed to the judge involved in this FBI raid who issued the warrant that President Trump had already agreed to let the FBI search the place without the raid, without all the people with their guns drawn in the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, he'd been working with him. He'd let him in once before. And now we find out that he'd agreed. He'd been working with him. Again, if they indict President Trump on the classified document issue, and then you don't see it happen to Joe Biden, who had classified information at 4 different locations, we now know, the Penn Center, his home, his beach home, and somewhere in some office space in Chinatown or something.
Yeah.
If they don't, I hope that doesn't happen. But we're beginning to hear like that may be where this thing is going. I just hope it isn't.
By the way, I just want to point out to our friends who don't live in Washington, the congressman wasn't being flippant. The office really was right on the border of Chinatown here in Washington, D.C. Something else was revealed this week in some testimony that you conducted in the House, and I want to play a little bit of the video here. Take a look.
Ms. Franklin, you have no idea how many Americans are picked up in the incidental collection, and the FBI won't tell you or won't even give you an estimate what that number may be. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you have no idea the amount of data collected on American citizens, and the FBI won't tell you or give you an estimate on that either.
The intelligence agencies have asserted that it is infeasible for them to capture a meaningful number, and they have not done so.
And then 10,000 people, approximately 10,000 people at the Justice Department have the ability to query this incidental collection database without any probable cause. And we know, as the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Nader, said earlier, there were 3.4 million queries of this database.
Wow.
30% of those.
This is chilling. It went on, but I just want to cut right to it. First of all, what incidental collection are we talking about? I thought back after the Edward Snowden affair, the NSA stopped incidental collection. And why is it the FBI has access to all of this?
Yeah, that's the problem, because you're supposed to be collecting information on foreigners because you're concerned about them, if possible, what, some kind of espionage, some kind of terrorist act, whatever. You're collecting on foreigners, but sometimes a foreigner will be talking to an American because Americans are doing business in a foreign country. They got to work through someone, whatever, and they pick up information about Americans. That information is that's so-called incidental, stored in this database, and the FBI can query it. Now, I mean, again, without probable cause, I think is sort of the fundamental issue here.
Right.
We think that should be a necessary. You got to go to a judge, get a probable cause warrant if you're going to look at information about American citizens. And then when you think about the number who have access, as I pointed out, we've been told by the FBI up to 10,000 people can query this database, and we know it was done millions and millions of times over the last couple of years. And many times when they do it, they're not following their proper protocols and procedures. Never mind the fact they don't have a warrant to do it.
Right.
That is a concern. That's why we're determined to change how this thing operates, because civil liberty. I mean, the person that I was asking the question to is head of the Civil Liberties and Privacy Board. Right. That's the commission she's on. She knows what's going on. So. That's a big concern.
Well, and again, post 9/11, we were told that these powers were necessary to keep the country safe, and that these agencies, they would never use this for political purposes. But we've seen specifically, Congressman, that they have, in fact, used these powers for political purposes.
Yeah, and this is one part of FISA. We're not even talking about the other part of FISA, the so-called Title I, that was used and abused to go after the Trump campaign, where they took information to the court to get a warrant to spy on Americans, and the FISA court okayed it based on false information given to the FISA court. So we know there's that problem, but this is a different area. This is the so-called 702 section of FISA that we got to change.
All right. I'd also like to ask you about the Biden administration's intent to add a $60 a month, they're claiming it probably go up, per month for anyone who holds a mortgage that has good credit. And of course, that money would then, for all the people who've done the right thing and built up good credit over the years, that money would go to subsidize people who don't have good credit, who get a mortgage that maybe they shouldn't get in the long run. First of all, first question is, what authority does the executive branch have to do this? This is a tax, isn't it? Shouldn't this come from the House?
Of course it should. And frankly, it's socialism 101. Take from people who are doing it the right way, give it to other people who don't. I mean, that is so wrong, so inconsistent with how this great country is supposed to operate. But this is par for the course with the Biden administration. They haven't done one thing, not one single thing can you point to, not one single policy area can you point to where they've done something right. I mean, the border's a mess, crime is up, inflation is up, record debt. You got bad energy policy. You got terrible foreign policy outcomes out there. So I don't know that they've done one thing right. This is just one more thing they're doing wrong.
Is this something that would fall under congressional scrutiny or oversight? Can they do it without a piece of legislation?
You know how it is. We've got now the power of the executive branch. Any taxing spending is supposed to come from Congress, and the Constitution is clear. The bill has to start in the House of Representatives, the body closest to the people. Right. So I think there are real constitutional problems with this, and I'm sure we're going to look into whether it's the Ways and Means Committee or maybe the Oversight Committee.
Only about 30 seconds left. You saw Anthony Fauci rewriting history with the New York Times, but he can't do that when he comes under oath before the House. Do you have any idea of when that subpoena will be delivered, when Dr. Fauci will face questions?
Chairman Winstrup is chairman of the Select Committee on Coronavirus, and I anticipate that could happen later in the summer. But I do know that committee, Chairman Winstrup, does want to have Dr. Fauci in at some point. My guess is later in the summer.
We're very much looking forward to that, sir. Thank you for joining us. I know it's a busy Friday as you head back to your district. There's more to come on O'Connor tonight. I like the shirt sleeves thing. I think I might do this all the time. We'll be back.